Imagine you are sitting in a room at Harvard Business School on the very last day of classes. Around you are some of the brightest minds in the world, young men and women who have spent 2 years preparing for careers of impact, prestige, and wealth. They are ambitious, confident, and ready to step into the future. On this day, the professor, Clayton Christensen, doesn't ask them about balance sheets or competitive strategy. Instead, he asks 3 deceptively simple but life-changing questions. How can I be sure that I'll be successful and happy in my career? How can I be sure that my relationships with my spouse, my children, and my family will become an enduring source of happiness? And finally, how can I be sure that I will live a life of integrity, staying out of jail and living without regrets? These questions strike his students with more force than any financial model or business framework they've studied, because deep down, they know the answers matter more than anything else they've learned. Christensen begins by weaving stories from business and personal life to illustrate that the tools we use to build companies can also help us build lives. The same theories that explain why some companies succeed and others fail can explain why some lives feel full and others feel empty. He insists that strategy is not just for corporations, it's for individuals too. Just like companies allocate resources, time, money, energy toward projects they believe will bring success, individuals allocate their own limited resources toward work, family, friendships, and personal growth. The tragedy is that many people allocate without reflection, and they end up succeeding at things that do not actually make them happy. He tells of classmates who, at graduation, were full of promise, destined for greatness. Yet years later, some of those very people found themselves divorced, estranged from children, or even in prison for unethical decisions. These were not unintelligent or evil people. They were simply people who failed to ask the right questions until it was too late. And so the professor's mission is clear: to give us a lens to make those choices wisely before the wrong path becomes too costly. When it comes to careers, Christensen warns that many of us are seduced by what economists call hygiene factors: salary, job security, status, perks. These are important, but they do not provide lasting satisfaction. True motivation comes from the work itself, from the ability to learn, to contribute, to take responsibility, to grow. He recalls the story of a student who was offered a high-paying job in investment banking and another in a less prestigious nonprofit organization. The banking job promised prestige and money, but no real growth in areas the student cared about. The nonprofit offered challenge and learning. Against all advice, the student chose the nonprofit, and years later, he was thriving, fulfilled, and making an impact. This is the lesson. Compensation matters, but it cannot buy engagement. Work that aligns with your deepest values is what sustains you. This is where the concept of deliberate and emergent strategy comes in. In business, leaders set deliberate strategies, clear goals, plans, targets. But they must also allow for emergent strategies, unexpected opportunities that arise, experiments that succeed, paths they hadn't imagined. In life, too, we need both. You may think you know exactly what you want, a certain career, a certain lifestyle, but as you live, new opportunities will appear. The trick is to balance clarity of purpose with openness to serendipity. Christensen himself dreamed of becoming the editor of the Wall Street Journal, yet his path took him into consulting, then entrepreneurship, then academia. Each turn was not part of the original plan, but each provided growth and meaning. Life rewards those who explore, who adjust, who stay aligned with purpose while being flexible in execution. Purpose, however, is not something you find in a single epiphany. It is built over time. Christensen urges us to discover it by acting, experimenting, reflecting. Ask yourself, what causes do I care about? What kind of person do I want to become? What impact do I want to leave on others? Answers emerge from living, not just thinking. Beyond career, Christensen speaks of the importance of relationships. Success at work can be intoxicating, but neglecting relationships is one of the greatest mistakes ambitious people make. He reminds us that just like companies that focus only on short-term profits and starve long-term investments, individuals who chase professional success often starve their marriages and families of time and attention. Years later, they wake up rich but alone. The truth is that family and friends require constant investment. Time spent together, traditions, small daily gestures, these compound just like financial investments. And just like in business, if you delay too long, the opportunity cost is enormous. A child grows up quickly. A neglected spouse may grow distant. A friend left behind may disappear forever. One story that lingers is about a colleague who worked tirelessly to achieve success, believing he could catch up with his family later. But later never came. His children had grown, his marriage was cold, and his wealth felt meaningless. Christensen presses us to ask, who are the most important people in your life, and are you allocating your resources in a way that reflects their importance? But relationships require more than just time. They require seeing people as ends, not means. In business theory, companies that treat employees merely as resources to extract value from eventually lose loyalty and talent. Similarly, when we treat people in our lives only as instruments for our own happiness, they sense it. Real joy comes from serving, from making others successful, from caring about their growth. He suggests that one of the most powerful questions you can ask in a relationship is not, what can I get? But what can I give? The third great question Christensen poses, how to ensure we live a life of integrity, is perhaps the most sobering. That he reminds us of classmates who, years later, found themselves in prison for white-collar crimes. None of them set out to become criminals. What happened was the marginal cost mistake in economics. Marginal cost thinking means making a decision based on the immediate cost or benefit of one choice in ethics. It means compromising just this once, cheating a little, cutting a corner, lying slightly, believing you'll return to honesty tomorrow. But once you cross that line, it becomes easier and easier to cross again. Integrity is not built in emergencies. It's built in small daily choices. Decide once that you will never cross the line, and you won't have to wrestle with temptation later. Christensen shares his own story of playing basketball at Oxford. His team made it to the finals, but the game was scheduled on a Sunday. He had promised himself he would never play on Sundays, as part of his personal commitment to his faith. The pressure to compromise was enormous. Coaches and teammates urged him to make an exception just this once, but he refused. Looking back, he says that was one of the most important decisions of his life because it confirmed that his values were non-negotiable. That clarity saved him from countless compromises later in life. Measuring your life, then, is not about the size of your bank account or the prestige of your title. It is about whether you found meaningful work, whether you nurtured loving relationships, and whether you stayed true to your principles. Christensen warns that if we don't consciously decide how we want to measure our lives, the world will decide for us, and its metrics are often shallow. Money, fame, possessions. Real success is quieter, deeper, and infinitely more satisfying. And so, as the classroom falls silent on that last day, the students realize they are being handed not just lessons in business, but lessons in living. Each of us must define success for ourselves. Each of us must build strategies that align with purpose, invest in relationships that matter, and guard integrity as our greatest treasure. Because at the end of our lives, the question will not be how many deals we closed, how many promotions we earned, or how many followers we had. The question will be, how will you measure your life? And if the answer is with love, service, growth, and integrity, then you will have lived a life that truly mattered.